Go for it.
Well, welcome. I'd just like to provide a little bit of a context of how Colleen and I got acquainted. It actually was probably a couple of years ago through Clubhouse, and we sort of were frequent flyers and our paths would cross, and I hosted a room and she came to it. And we had a fascinating discussion. And I asked her, would you mind coming? Would you be interested in coming to a WITI session to talk about equity and environmental injustices? And so she was agreeable to it. And we had a conversation last night. We have a series of questions. And part of the purpose of this is understanding more about Colleen, but what makes her tick. And it's a fascinating story. And I don't know all the details yet. I just have the questions that we were able to come up with last night. So, I'd like to go back a little bit in the personal history and then, move forward. But Colleen, I know you told me last night you came from a low-income single-parent family and with limited resources, but maybe you could just briefly tell us how your mother came to realize how bright you were.
Well, first of all, thank you, everyone. I'm Colleen Brennan-Vandersteen, living in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And I'm 35 years technology with IBM Air Canada in tech. Won many awards with IBM in designing automation. I specialized in the telecommunications area. That was my expertise. People don't realize it, but in the airline industry, it's a great design that drives the automation with messaging, which triggers off fueling and staffing and everything. And that was my baby. So the pilot drives the airplane, but messaging drives the airline. So that was my baby. And I was third level tech support for the globe and enjoyed it completely. Worked from home for 10 years prior to that. It was the only way I would take the job. And they went, absolutely, it's yours. So remote work is totally up my alley. My mother came to know I was different. When I was 11, I was in grade 5. They, in the elder times, let's just say in the 60s, they used to do a lot of IQ tests and different aptitude tests all the time. And so we did a test, and about a month later, my teacher said to me, Colleen, the principal wants to talk to you. And back then, nobody wanted to go see the principal. You were going to get the strap. So I went, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm good. I don't want to go see him. And she said, she had to tell me 3 times to go see him because I really was a nervous wreck. And I'm going, I really don't want to go see him. She goes, it's for good, Colleen. You'll want to hear this. And I went, okay. So I went there and I walked in and he said, Colleen, thanks for putting us on the map. And it's just like, what? How did I do that? He said, well, remember that test you wrote? Yes. Well, you had the highest score that we've had in the whole school division, which is about 75 schools in that division. It's the #1 division. And I said, okay, what did I do? And he said, well, it was an IQ test, by the way. You didn't know that. And I said, so how did I score? And he said, 160. And I said, so what's average? Like, I'm 11. And we're having this conversation and he's going, average is about 80. Okay. So he said, we would like you to present flowers to the Governor General of Canada when he comes into Winnipeg in like 2 weeks' time. Okay. But we had no money. And I'm looking at what I'm wearing, which was a kilt and a fisherman knit sweater. And I said, can I wear this? Because I'm thinking my mom's going to be livid that I'm creating something that's going to cost money. So he said, yeah, she could wear that. I said, well, how am I going to get there? And he said, we'll drive you. So there was a whole bunch of other things in between. And I said, could you please write a letter for my mother? I don't think she'll believe me when I tell her. So he wrote a letter And I took it home, gave it to my mother, and she goes, "What did you do?" And I said, "They said I had a high IQ." And she said, "That's amazing. Where'd you get it from?" And I said, "I think I got it from you." So anyways, she said, "Okay, I'll get you a dress." And she went to Sally Ann and got a dress for me. And I didn't want to show anyone the dress. I hated it. And sure enough, I went, the school, I didn't even have to go to the classroom. I went straight to the principal's office. They drove me to the event. I sat there for all day, finally presented these and I had a yellow dress on and presented yellow flowers. It was kind of interesting, to the Governor General of Canada, who's Queen Elizabeth's representative, by the way, for all of Canada. So they were elected by the Queen Elizabeth at that time. So it was great to meet him. I spoke to the mayor. We had a great discussion. I went home and my mom said, "How was it?" I starved. I never got fed. I think they forgot about food. And so that was fine. I said, "I'm glad it's over. Please don't tell anyone anything. This is a secret between you and me. I don't want anyone to know, because I don't want the stress for the rest of my life for people wanting me to do something that I don't want to do." And so she said, "Okay." But then the next day, my face was on the front page of the Free Press. And I said, "I'm glad poor people don't buy the paper." So I didn't have to worry. Nobody mentioned it. Nobody said anything. I went, perfect. So it wasn't until I start designing this big project that I went, I guess I might bring it up about how I design. I had a number of IBMers ask me if I was a genius because of the way I worked at IBM. I created something that they said would never be designed, and that was message forwarding. I created it through a little program. I wanted to fix the rejected messages. And they kept telling Air Canada, "We can't do message forwarding." I said, "I have message forwarding. I created it with my little program." And they go, "That's amazing. We thought it would cost millions of dollars, and it only cost Air Canada $1,500 to create the program that I designed." So, and we had it up and operational in 2 weeks, because the way I design, the programmers understand it quickly. They said, "There's no way, this would have taken us 6 months to figure it out, but because you do such a good job with the logic and everything, that we understand it quickly." I said, "Okay, great." So I won awards in a number of other areas as well, saving Air Canada money. And I'll be honest with you, I was designing a lot of things. I was on the IBM innovation team. I had the IBM lawyers phoning me, "Can you do the patent?" No, I'm not writing up a patent. You guys want me to do everything. You want me to do graphic artists. You want me to do PowerPoint presentations. I would get calls from Toronto going, "Colleen, do you have anything for Canada that we can present in innovation?" And I would tell them, "Yeah, make them go paperless. Do this, do that." But I never got that kind of recognition. And no, I left IBM because they never paid me enough. They came to me for innovation, and yet they paid me the least amount on my team. And that inequality made me want to leave. And that's how I designed this business. I innovated my way out of IBM. And guess what? 5 years later, IBM lost the Air Canada account. They had no innovation. You can't be in tech and not have innovation. And you have to be able to design. You have to have that design that people need, and they want to be efficient. And, I would say to my team, "What do you guys have for innovation?" They go, "We got nothing. We're waiting for Canada to tell us what they want." Like, give me a break. They're paying you big bucks to tell them what they need. When you don't have the right strategies assigned to the teams, they don't know what they're really working on. Like they didn't. Anyways, I was able to talk to Air Canada. I would even go through the IBM processes, because I hate the guidelines. Guidelines are only there. People make them like they're concrete. They're actually there to be changed, because if they're not changing, you have nothing. And people in IBM were all about the process and procedures. It's almost like, no, I'd phone up Air Canada and look, I can save you money on teletype, your wasted messages. Let's clean it up and get rid of them. And so we did a cleanup of their main reservation system teletypes, did a major cleanup, and they said, okay, so nothing happened for about 2 months. And then finance phoned them and said, what did you guys do? Our network costs went down, and I don't know. They didn't rattle out the number, but it was big enough that they said, go to phase 2, phase 3, whatever. I said, you've got 7 systems, so we can clean up all of them. But I left. So that never got done. And I have a legacy with Air Canada, by the way, for all the things that I would do behind the scenes to keep the customer happy. And no one else took that on, nor did they have the innovation to do it. So it's an interesting, well, it was interesting to me because I left because they wouldn't pay me enough, and yet they lost everything in the end. So you can go with if they had ethics and paid everyone the same amount. I know the guys were making like $20,000 more than I was, and I was the only one driving everything. So, the management team didn't pay attention to anything. I asked them many times, and they couldn't help me. So I just went, I'm out. I'm figuring my way out of here. I had 35 years, waited till I got the 35 in when I had already started on this project. I was working at like 16-hour days working for Air Canada, and then continuing on in the project of Save Our Planet Refillery. And it took a lot of lean research. I'm a lean architect. I redesign process architecture. And I am glad I came out of my tech bubble to truly find out what was going on in this world. And, I found that finance is slow, and max fragmentation is creating a big inefficiency for everyone. I mean, I think as a startup, you're looking for the help with finance. And, I knew 25 years ago that recycle was failed because my neighbor gave me a tidbit, and that tidbit makes you change your thoughts. I was out there, just had my second child, and was out sorting my 5 recycle bins, lining them all up, and my neighbor walks over and says, Colleen, you're wasting your time. They just did a TV documentary. It's all garbage. You can't tell me that. I won't be able to sleep at night. And I kicked the blue box, and I went, what the heck? I just wasted 45 minutes sorting and cleaning everything and making sure it's all nice. And he said, the garbage truck is going to take it away. Give me a break. So that tidbit really hung with me. I'm going, my children and all the children don't realize this. We're living in a lot of BS worlds where we're thinking things are working and they're not. And so, and we moved out to the country, and I had to buy drinking water. So I was buying this 24/7 self-serve kiosk, wonderful drinking water. And after many years, after the kids have matured and I'm able to have time to myself, I walked in there and I go, I got to get out of IBM. What am I going to do? I walked in to refill my water. I went, wait a minute, this is it. What a great business. I want one. And why do we stop at water? Why aren't we doing more? And I took that and ran with it and started researching recycles, and I went, I got to find a customer. So I started attending conferences where Walmart was there. And the big one I started with was in 2011 was Sustainable Brands in California. It was in Monterey in that year. And then the following year, 2012, they moved it out to San Diego. So the first year I go there, and I'm like, not really talking, because in my head it was scrambled. What am I really doing? I had no vision then, because I was more concerned about the functions of the system, and started the patents and designing to make sure we have high volume. So I'm talking 2,000 gallons of product with the least amount of resources. You can't change the world and then use tons of energy. You have to redesign that whole system. And so it wasn't confirmed at that time and how I was going to do it. And so I wasn't really saying anything, but I did go there, and Walmart stood up at this conference and said, "We seek technology to remove packaging will increase our profits." I went, "Oh my God, that's my customer. I'm going to design for Walmart." I didn't talk to anyone, went back, and I went, okay. So I went back the following year in 2012 to San Diego. And I was in a coffee shop talking to one of the organizers of this conference, Sustainable Brands. And the Walmart speaker came in, and he was talking to the girl, and he goes, "You guys are in a tense, conversation. What are you talking about?" Well, we're talking about her business. And she goes, "You need to talk to her." So he says, "What are you doing, Colleen?" I said, "I'm transforming distribution to remove packaging." "Well, tell me more." Well, it's going to be in 350-gallon totes that we're sending to the suppliers and bringing them in. He goes, "Colleen, may I make a suggestion? Please do. Give me a roadmap." He said, "You create a showcase that demonstrates system functionality, consumer acceptance, and statistics, and we will come." I said, "Thank you. Thank you very much." So I continued on my designing and filing the patents, which are now approved in Canada, US, and Australia. We internationally filed. The trademarks are also published. So I had an opportunity to meet Home Depot Canada, and I sent them my information to Toronto, and it came back, "We don't think you have anything we're interested in." Nobody understood what I was doing because I'm so disruptive that they didn't understand the information. So I went, "That's interesting. Walmart seeks technology to remove packaging will increase their profits!" Exclamation mark. I just sent it off, expecting nothing back for them. And I got the fastest reply back saying, "We'd love to hear what you have to say." So I prepared a marketing plan. I went to Home Depot Canada, and I spoke to the buyer, and she was so impressed with my marketing plan on how they're going to save money, operating and product costs, and create a 24/7 self-serve. Retail's been dying to go there for 60 years and can't get there. And so I answered a lot of their issues. So she goes, "What do you want from us?" And I said, "A letter of interest would help my business." And she said, "Okay." So sure enough, a month later, I got a letter of interest from Home Depot Canada, and I appraised it, and I went, "That's a 54 million value." So as a master troubleshooter who can find the core issues immediately, the root cause to global waste has been distribution all along. It's not packaging. They're wasting millions and billions of dollars on packaging when it will not change waste. You need to eliminate the waste. So Save Our Planet Refillery is transforming distribution with new infrastructure and technology to remove packaging, reducing product costs 20%, operating costs 20%, waste 100%, and mega million tons of carbon emissions annually by reducing shipping volumes by 70%. We're just selling systems to global industries such as hospitals, airports, universities, military, automotive. Everyone needs to change. And when you remove packaging, it increases profits for everyone. So Walmart created Sam's Club to be a wholesaler, and we make all their locations wholesale with our system. And so it's the sale to Walmart is like 846 million, but the return on that investment is within a year. Within the year, we're actually solving $1 trillion annual problem. The waste industry is making 900 billion a year. The theft and shrinkage prevention and all these issues where people are these swarm shoplifting, that they're coming in gangs and then just looting everything and then running out, that terminates that. Global Retail reports 100 billion loss every year. And the other issue is ocean cleanup, which is about a 54, well, it's $1 million thing, but so they can't steal anything because it's not in a package. Package allows the looting. With the system, they'd have to have a forklift or a semi truck in order to steal our stuff, and they won't have that. So it's redesigning and removing shelving in stores and creating a new infrastructure is what's going to get rid of the waste. And, you know, this is actually, there's 3 phases to removing shelving in a store. This is only phase 1, by the way. We have 2 more phases for delicate items, clothing, and others. And then the last one is for large items. So there's a lot of vision here. And the working model here in Winnipeg is 18 years successful. And we're just upscaling an existing model. We're going to create the very first 24/7 self-serve multi-car drive-in refilling station. That does not exist. And the convenience of refilling 20-liter or 5-gallon pails in less than a minute, you literally, the technology, you could refill 20 containers with 20 different products with one voice command. That's the tech. That's the innovation, and that's the future. So it's been a big vision that nobody wanted to have anything to do with. So it's because my numbers were too high. I knew we were in trouble long before COVID. I mean, COVID helped because it brought the attention to everyone else. But I was ahead of everyone. I'm ahead of everyone 10 years minimum. They're still thinking and playing with packaging, and it's not going to solve really anything. It's still going to create waste. You don't reduce those costs. It's still going to hurt the environment. Even if it does biodegrade, no supplier wants it. I've already talked to suppliers. So they're just wasting money, again, on designing something that's a tidbit fix that doesn't do anything to hit the true core issues that we really need to change. We need to change a lot of structures. Trust me, they should never put a lean architect through all their processes, because I will redesign it. I used to say that to IBM. Don't make me go look at that system. I'm going to fix it. And then I did. I used to do that all the time. They'd make me go work on a new system, and I go, that system needs automation. You guys got none. And so they would have to fix it. So I don't know what do you have another question, Rick?
Well,
I don't know where to take
I would have a question, Rick. Can I? Because it was just a few years ago they went to like concentrate, right, with liquid, and they had been like shipping these laundry detergents and stuff where it was mostly water. Then they went to concentrate. So that's great, though. I mean, that sounds like a really great solution to a lot of these issues. Right. And then when you talk about the stealing part, I mean, the part we're at now where people are just going in, that gets rid of all those issues too. So I love it.
So you brought that up. And to be honest with you, liquid is the best form of product. I'm with the liquid, and I'm with the distribution groups and the automated manufacturing side. And so they were talking about powder and granular. And I said, are you telling me everything is liquid and you guys change it to powder and granular? And they go, absolutely. I said, I can imagine the energy level on dehydrating everything to take the liquid out so we can add it later. Makes no sense to me. That energy level is through the roof to dehydrate everything, but it lasts longer. However, I'm learning, honest, I had to go on a huge, for probably 3 years, I had to learn business. I had to learn, environmental. And I'm just looking at from a logic point of view, but I had to go understand many, what wasn't I saying? And I was telling Rick in the beginning when they'd say no to me, I'd be rolling my eyes, shaking my head, going, what don't they get? Like it's the biggest solution, but it was about the deal. I didn't understand it. It took a long time, and I used to get upset about what wasn't I saying, and I'd go back and try and revamp myself. And I go, no. And after a while of hearing them say no a lot, or laughing at me, I'm not joking, laughing at me. And when I'd say we can solve the global plastic waste crisis, and they'd laugh out loud. And they didn't know who I was. You know, I went to Climate Change Week in New York, attended all the finance workshops going, what is wrong with this industry? There is something certainly wrong. They're not understanding. And I got it. I walked away. Yeah, they're just about the numbers. They don't care about innovation. They don't care about anything. It's about the numbers and the deal. Okay. Like, where's the critical thinking skills, and where's to help the, and then of course COVID hit, and then, you know, it came about that they were just so far behind, and their slowness to make change. So I did want to tell Rick that we're in the final stages of full project funding for Save Our Planet Refillery, including manufacturing, the showcase, and the tech through the EU, European Union climate bond. It took over 2 years to get a guarantor for the bond, but they've finally signed, and everything's going through the legals right now. And hopefully I get my paycheck and all the money to start the showcase. It's been a journey where I have learned about the people that will truly support me when I really need it. I have found people that give up and will not fork through. Like, I have been doing this a long time, and people were thinking, what's wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me? And I'm going, it's not me. It's a failed process that I have to work around to make things go. It's taken a lot of work on my part to figure out what I'm not doing. I was running, honest, I was running everywhere. And the beauty of me with Air Canada was I could fly to these conferences on a shoestring budget and attend the conferences if they would give me a free pass. I would go there and network. The beauty of a conference is it's 3 packed days, but it was equivalent to 8 months of working from home, where I actually got to meet the people, talk to them. It was eye-opening. What really accelerated was going to conferences and finding my solutions, whatever I was working on at the time. I would attend RFID conferences. Tech guys would give me free passes, and I'd go and learn RFID to automate the back end, because I'm not selling a system that requires a lot of work. So we can create automation in the back end. Like, I had the best fun. The stimulating on the learning for me was something that, I mean, I love the project because it really made me grow. I've grown so much, and thinking so differently, and the fairness and ethics behind it. I'm going to create a leadership that isn't driven by numbers and profits. And so I think the youth are throwing their resumes at me in engineering and tech. You know, it's exciting to see their excitement when they go. And actually, when I was in Climate Change Week, was probably in 2019, I have still the kids sending me, Colleen, what's taking you so long? Like, what's taking you so long? Like, it's hilarious when I get these emails. It's like, yeah, guys, I don't know how to explain it. I think someday I have to sit down, and what I've gone through is very slow. And I'm an automation girl. It's like, there's a lot of industries that need tech, and I can help design because I have the insight. I know where it fails. I know why it fails. It's super interesting. I've got so many projects after this that are just as big as what I'm doing now. And redesigning the government structure. You know, I looked at it. I went to the government for the first 2 years when I was still working at IBM. Can you guys help me with grant money? I'm environmental. They looked at me and said, you'll be successful on your own. What? Okay. So, but then I started looking at all the programs. I went through every one of their programs, not joking. I did it more for insight to see what actually works. None of it worked. Not one. Not one could help me. I was the only thing environmental. I have a lot of proof, a lot of awards and challenges that I was, never accepted. And they were failed on their assessments. They couldn't assess me. I was that disruptive. And I am very disruptive. They really don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, on that point of disruption, I'm going to disrupt now, simply because we had a conversation last night, and I proposed the questions. I didn't have to ask you the questions because you've answered most of them. But the one thing that stands out loud and clear is sort of being undervalued as a entrepreneur. Whether that's related to your, being a woman or not is a separate issue. I suspect there's elements of it, but it's also when people, if you're ahead of the curve, how do you help people open their minds to what the deeper systemic or root causes are? Because if you don't address those, anything you do is just going to be incrementalism, which we've got too much of, and there isn't any significant changes. So one thing I did share with you last night is that, the whole notion of exponential organizations. And the one thing about what you're doing, what I sense is happening is that you're at the lower end, you're approaching an inflection point. And the question is, what will accelerate your trajectory to that inflection point? Where people start, appreciating some of the visions that you're sharing about how to eliminate waste in the supply chains and reduce, environmental harm, etc. So on that note, what do you think is going to help you accelerate your trajectory to an inflection point where systems start making significant changes?
Actually, it's creating the showcase. The showcase that demonstrates will be the best marketing tool I have, that we can show that this can be adapted, just the system or even the building models. But I'm actually also have interest for licensing out the manufacturer. How do you change the world faster? You let it go. You let it go. So you license out the manufacturing side, give them the tech they want, the automation, and allow them to implement it in their own country, like India and Africa, the Caribbean, all of them. That's how you change the world faster, is let it go. And I'm very happy to let it go, because if they follow the rules, I bring them more innovation. I'll bring them more innovation. I want them to change. And I have to, if they have the ethics and treat everyone fairly, I will bring them more innovation. And so this is how I can have not control, but able to move things forward in a more, I guess, as you would say, equity aptitude that allows people to be fair to everyone. I mean, we all want to live. I don't know. I grew up poor, and you have to have, the programs and opportunities given to everyone. And look, where I came from, like if somebody saw where I lived and where I came from and how I got here, was a lot of work, but I had to fight the systems and the processes that were failed, which just was a big time waste, really. Very insightful and very stimulating, but it did give me all the insight I need for a lot of change. And actually, as an older woman in tech, that was another thing. I think that's why they laugh, because they're always looking at the young guys to be the ones to solve the problems. Well, they don't have the experience to change the world, yet they throw all their money at them. And it's almost like, give me a break. Like, there has to be some history behind it. I have history. And they wouldn't even look at it. They wouldn't even look at it. They didn't even ask me. They never asked me what I did and how I got where I was. And it was the thing that I noticed at climate change. They didn't even talk about the innovators. They didn't talk about the entrepreneurs. They only talked about the numbers.
I'd like to open it up to other people. I could quite happily chat away with you as we did last night, previous time, but I would like to give the other people opportunity to ask questions. So anybody else like to? I'm quite happy to do it, but I want to open it up in the spirit of equity.
Well, I think what was coming to mind for me, Colleen, as you were talking about just opening it up, one thing that Elon Musk had done with the Hyperloop was he had created this whole infrastructure for Hyperloop. And then every time he'd talk about it, those Tesla stock would go down. So then he just basically made it open source, put all the paperwork, let people build it. And one of our friends, Bebop, just signed the Hyperloop deal for Italy using that technology, and look, and I think, we talked about a disruption like COVID, because, people are just relaxed in their business models. And, once the supply chain breaks down, or the earth, generative AI followed by quantum computing coming soon. I think a lot of these industries, the fashion industry, that's probably the worst industry for sustainability. Now with AI, you can design dresses without, using a lot of clothing, and you can get specific on, with the data on who's going to buy what. So you only manufacture, because I know, stuff in that space is going manufactured to landfill in a lot of cases, and it's ridiculous. So anyway, no, I love it. And it's exciting, right? It's like we had to have a shock to the system and jump on top of it now. Because I think now at least people are open, the VCs, how risk adverse are they? Is it risk adverse? Right. I just think, but there are the right people that are kind of thinking, because I think the same way as you. Platform, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's all kind of off the same structure. So
thanks, David. Yes, I agree with you. It's taking the best of a whole bunch and making one system, which is exactly what I'm doing. It's just they couldn't see that. So moving the filling of containers away from the suppliers and creating a system that the consumers can, but my whole system is designed for wholesale. So I have more commercial customers. So I have a steady revenue stream with commercial, but I'll be retail convenient. And it's creating that location that's prime retail, that's big enough, can handle it more wholesale. So, it's expensive, but it's what's going to make me drive forward, because my key location is going to be my first, presentation. And so therefore I want to make sure it's a good one. So I picked this prime retail. What is it? 7 million just for the location alone. But you know what? It's going to help me get all the answers, everything in one spot. I hit all my key points, and I'm excited. I picked the location. The money's being slow to come in. I'm scared it's going to go, but I'll find another one. I've been doing that quite a bit, quite often. I couldn't even get a real estate deal. Nobody would give me anything, nothing. I'm serious. It was like, what am I not saying that they don't get or understand? They fear innovation. They don't like it. They claim they love it. But I would tell you, the fear is there. The risk is low, and it's like, really, you got to be a high risk taker in order to get a high return. I don't get it. I'm more business than I think some of the people that are in business. It's really interesting, because I was trying to get suppliers to partner with me. Give me a little bit of money, and I'll make your sales grow like you have no idea. I'm trying to, look at automated back end stainless steel laser cutters and benders, and I'm looking at all kinds of equipment. I'm invited to Minnesota for their big automation manufacturing site. I go to all these things to learn what's out there. What can I pick on? How can I approach them and get them to partner with me so I can sell it? If I sell it to India, I'm selling their systems. If I'm selling it to Germany, I'm selling, it's interesting how they're not looking at it from that point of view, that what's the growth. They just ask what's up front and that's it. They don't ask what the growth is. So it's kind of interesting. Anyways, I'm learning. I'm always learning.
Yeah,
Always looking at designing.
we had someone speak from the Procter and Gamble Innovation Labs or something early COVID. I'll track down that woman, right? Because you would think maybe they're innovating. Are they? I don't know what they're right, but it's like this stuff is where they should be thinking. Because it hadn't really even occurred to me on stuff that I should be able to just go with my, just like people are filling up their water where they have those machines at wherever they are, for the markets, etc. Why shouldn't I just be able to put my Tide thing in there, or my Dove, or whatever?
Right. And it just like, why keep paying over and over for that packaging? Like, why? The whole profit margin. I was so pissed off when I realized what they were doing to us. The waste. I'd pick up my Dove soap and I go, they want me to pay $7 for this when I know the product's probably a quarter. It's a quarter in their high, and all that profit margin, and yet it's garbage after. Like, I just threw away $7, and I'm like, really? People accept it like it's nothing, and I'm like, no, I don't even want the pack. I hate the packaging. They didn't realize it. They think the marketing thinks that we love it. I hate it. I've always hated it. And so it's redesigning the packaging now for refilling all the time. And honest, I have all kinds of people coming to me, hurry up, Colleen, we're trying to hurry. It's like, trust me, finance is the slowest industry I've ever dealt with. If there was a way to centralize it and make it so we can actually know what's out there, we're all searching and wasting time searching. It's been 150% time waste. That's my assess. As a lean architect, I'm assessing the time waste is through the roof. It's ridiculous. And everyone's doing it. Like, we have better things to work on. If we had a better system for investments and design that so everyone knows who's out there and what they want to invest in, they can invest. It would be like the next day you'd have the money and away you go, especially on the best designs. It's kind of interesting. I can streamline that. Trust me. I've already got it. It's one of my projects to streamline finance.
You'd think like a Costco, where they could just corner the market on everything. They could sell more memberships, have people going there more consistently just to fill up their,
I want to fill up my booze. I want to fill up my gin bottle. I want to fill up, like, you know how fancy they make those liquor bottles? Like, it's all, the bottle is what you're paying most for.
Yeah.
And I hate it. It's garbage after. It's a beautiful bottle. Why are we wasting this stuff? Like, it's beyond me. It's over my head when it comes to we can keep doing that. No, we cannot. It's ridiculous. It's stupidity. Anyways, it's been I've had my angry moments when I go, how did we stay in this status quo so long? But I've wasted 9 years, if not more, just trying to find money. It's been ridiculous. And I would say it, I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm saying it just to point out what my experience was. But there's room for fix. There's room to solve the slowness of finance. There's room to solve the government has no clue what they're doing either. Like and when I looked at it, you look at the structure of the governments. You know what it was designed for 150 years ago? Communication. The reason why you have representatives in your area was because that they had to take the message from you to Parliament, to the federal government, to wherever. We don't need that anymore. I could tweet Trudeau right now if I'm that pissed off. I would. Like, what the hell are you guys doing? We're paying all these people to be our communicator when we all have communication. It's crazy. The old people don't like it because they don't have it. But, once that generation is all gone, we don't really need that structure. We could eliminate 50% of the people working for the government and that operating cost. That is lean. Sorry, I'm a lean person. You have to redesign the structure, and you will lean out a lot of time waste. Well, lean is reducing costs, reducing time waste, and reducing waste.
Yeah.
So
Not to mention like crypto, right? Like in the US and the whole monetary, and the US is getting left behind by all these other countries. I'm not clear what's going on in Canada, but again, it's change. They don't want to change. They're getting left behind. The bureaucrats, the lobbyists.
there's a lot of fixes to be done. Trust me, there's so much work to changing pretty much everything. From supply chain to transportation to, the EVs are coming in, the solar cars are coming in, everything's coming in except, and the one thing, get rid of fossil fuels. I'm in. I'm so in. I will be wind. I will be solar. I'll never be one because I'm a tech girl. You have to have a backup. So it's going to be solar and wind for my energy. We'll be buying the Tesla semi trucks. I have to go that full because I'm a full eco package. That's what I'm selling.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you change it faster.
Well, maybe we could begin to wrap up in the last few minutes in terms of future directions. You've got your website, and maybe you could give us an imaginary case scenario that would that you wish for, that would be the attractor to get the attention that you need. So future directions, and what would the case scenario look like that would convince people to shift the needle?
It's easy. It's actually very easy. I would go into hotels and a number of places and they go, what are you doing, Colleen? I said, I would just go in there to get a commercial customer. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm removing packaging. He goes, you get Walmart to change to that, and we'll start buying cleaning products from Walmart. Imagine how you change everything when you do it that way. You create the show. All I have to do is create a showcase, and everyone says my website's terrible. It doesn't show anything. It's strategic, everyone. It's strategic. I'm not giving away my information until I'm ready to give my information. And they think you're never going to get the funding. I couldn't get the funding even when I talked to them personally. So it didn't matter. No, it's always strategic. It's a timing issue. And, I had to, it's slow, but what could I do? I had to protect my information. And I would only give a small tidbit to get to pique their interest. But if they wanted more, they'd have to talk to me. It was interesting. It's been such an experience. I would sit down, and I've been on Clubhouse, and I'm going into the movie rooms, and I'm going, I got a film. I've got a place you guys can come put in your movies. You know how they promoted everything? You can come and do a movie in my showcase anytime you want. And they're all in. They're all in. So I'm already doing the marketing for the new Push Forward, and we're going to do a movie. It's going to be a combination of Aaron Brockovich and Social Network on my startup story as to what happened and why it took so long. And then my family may understand it, and my supporters may understand me. It's like they're looking at me like there's something wrong with me. It's me. Like they're blaming me, and no.
Yeah. Well, on that point, I'm sure David has got ideas about people that you might be worthwhile connecting up with, and how we might be able to help you doing the work. Your passion comes across loud and clear, and I know we've only scratched the surface of it. And the case report is critically important to make it sort of an attractor to hopefully create a cascade of systemic changes, which is obviously your exponential dream. So, the question then is, for example, Dave and I know somebody who does, helps in the film industry, for example. I don't know how far you're on the funding of that, and there are other connections. So hopefully you can use this conversation as a way of attracting attention for your ideas, but most importantly, to get the funding to be able to get those case studies done in such a way that you approach that inflection point sooner rather than later. So any closing comments at all?
We do have, by the way, film.io, who Rick is referring to. Ian, the founder and CEO, is going to be speaking at noon, walking through the platform. You can kind of create tokens to get movies funded, as well as other things too. So it's
could you, I'd love to watch the replay, but could you share the link for Colleen if she happens
the link's
to be
in there. Just register on LinkedIn and then we'll get you registered. We're going to be doing those monthly too, to make sure our members are on top of how they can raise money on their own and create tokens and yeah, it's like a whole ecosystem. That's another, right? That's the way Ian thinks too, which is great. I think his product, well, it's just for film and creative now, is a platform that can be used for other industries too. So, but for your film that you mentioned, Colleen, and potentially for other things, it's interesting for sure.
I think people will be excited about a new disruption, and I think it'll get a lot of attention because of that. The youth are extremely excited. I can't emphasize it enough.
Yeah.
And Colleen, thank you so much for everything you shared. Totally inspirational. Looking forward to connecting with you offline on other topics. I would say something that I'm super curious about, maybe for an ongoing conversation, would be from or through the lens of leadership. If there are leaders that have empowered you, equipped you, inspired you, believed you, welcomed your disruption, and if so, would love to hear a little bit more about that. And I know we're out of time today, but just really wanted to say thank you so much for spending an hour with us. It was really enlightening to hear about your journey.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I love it. It's a nice, quaint group. I totally enjoyed this. I have done presentations and to the fossil fuel industry. They thought they were going to rip me apart, and especially from the environmental side. And I was telling Rick, what was hilarious is I never even touched the environmental side. I touched about the inefficiencies of a gas motor and the 1,000 moving parts, and how EVs have removed the 1,000 moving parts to just add more battery to an existing battery system. So it was very interesting on that. So I love opening up the mind to new ideas, and a lot of the universities are following me, so there's a lot going on, and happy to connect with everyone on LinkedIn and chat again anytime. So thanks, Rick, for allowing me to.
Oh no, Colleen, it's been a pleasure it's been a pleasure to get to know you better. And if you need any cartooning things, Mike.
Yes, I see that. Mike's
Mike
there,
has done
right?
some interesting things in EVs, which you may want to, if you want some cartoon type stuff. He's worked on it, so he's been silently listening there, and he has some ways of presenting things that might be of curiosity to you.
Yeah, the whole EV, is that part of your expertise, the EV?
Yes, yeah, I've been a member. I was telling Rick long ago, it used to be I was going to get a new kitchen for all my work, and then it changed to a Tesla Model X. Quickly to a Tesla Model X will be my reward for doing all this work for free, 10 years of no paycheck. So been extremely happy to move forward and tease myself. My own inspiration was to put a reward and carrot in front of my nose. It was always a Model X. I love the innovation. Thanks,
Okay.
Rick.
We got to scoot, but
Yes.
close out because David has to go on to the next one with Ian, which I would like to be there, but I've got a day job I have to go to. So have a good day.
Thanks again, Rick, for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity, and everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.